Hey guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. So this video kind of didn't go as planned, so it's going to be kind of pieced up and it's going to be in between me talking about it now after the fact. But my friend got a really good deal on this tank. It was like well, it's not really a tank, it's like a screen tank, like a screen enclosure that she wanted, and she had bought it off Facebook Marketplace. So we were meeting this guy in a McDonald's parking lot close by his house. Side note, never meet anybody like at their house or at your house. Always meet in like a public location, somewhere that's actually pretty busy, something like McDonald's, Walmart, things of that nature. So yeah, we were meeting this guy and we were sitting in the McDonald's parking lot waiting for him, and we saw this cat, so I got out to see if I could pet the cat. I knew it was a wild cat, so it probably didn't want anything to do with me. However, I wanted to pet the cat. So I got out and I was trying to pet the cat, and here's some footage of me like trying to pet the cat. And then, so after I realized that there was like a bunch more cats, so I was like looking around in like the woods and stuff, because it was like the woods behind this McDonald's. And so I was looking around, and there were like 6 more cats just kind of like hanging out. And then I looked to my right, and there were these like makeshift tents like made out of like garbage bags. Kitty. That were just taped up in trees in the woods. And so I got out of there as quick as possible, because you never know. Things like that could become dangerous really quick. So anyway, I got back in the car, we got the tank. The guy recommended a pet store across the street from where we were at this McDonald's. So we went across the street to this pet store, and and it was a slightly larger pet store for being a family-owned pet store. It was nice. They had aquatic turtles. They had this really, really nice, large, homemade aquatic turtle enclosure. I didn't get any footage of it because after I started filming, the lady kind of went off about how she didn't like people filming, especially if she were in it, even though she wasn't in it. Anyway, so I just kind of felt uncomfortable filming, so I ended up not filming the turtle enclosure because it was farther in the back near the register. But right at the front door, when you first walk in, there was a big, like, gated off area that was turned into a pen, where there were 3 tortoises and 2 iguanas. One of the tortoises was a redfoot tortoise. It was a very large redfoot tortoise. It was full grown. It looked really healthy. And then there were 2 sulcata tortoises. Now these sulcata tortoises looked pretty rough. They were not in really great shape at all. Like, they were really, really rough. And naturally, me being me and Shyler, my friend, asked about these tortoises. And also they had these 2 iguanas in there. One was a rock iguana and one was just a green iguana. And I really didn't think that they should have been housing this many different species together with this many different care requirements. Let me show you this enclosure and you'll see exactly what I mean by these tortoises, and then I'll get more into it. So yeah, that was the enclosure that they had. Like I said, they had a rock iguana, a green iguana, this big redfoot, which, as you can see in the video, the redfoot looked pretty healthy. And then there were the 2 sulcatas, which, if you know anything about tortoises and you saw that clip, I am sure that you know that they were in no way, shape, or form good in any way, shape, or they were just not good. They were just not healthy. They didn't seem happy. Also in the clip, if you notice, like, where their food was, there was a lot of watermelon, like an entire watermelon just like split open, and like they had eaten it. And sulcata tortoises cannot have that much fruit. They can have a little tiny bit of fruit just as like a treat, very, very, very occasionally. But sulcata tortoises are from Africa, and they are in the desert. Like, they're known as the African spurred-thighed tortoise. They're from Africa. Like, they don't just go and eat watermelons in the wild. Like, they don't eat a lot of fruit. They don't have access to a lot of fruit from the wild. So it's not healthy for them to have that much fruit. So I was already a little like, okay, well, they shouldn't really be feeding it this, but pet stores don't know what they're doing anyway. So me and Shylar went and asked the lady, and I tried to record it, but it ended up not following through. The phone wouldn't hit record. So I didn't get the clip of her talking about it. But we had asked if they were rescues because they very clearly had really bad metabolic bone disease. And tortoises with metabolic bone disease, you'll notice instead of having a round shell similar to this, it kind of curves up. They have lots of bumps, a lot of pyramiding, and they just don't look normal, so to say. For lack of better terms, they just don't look normal. So we asked if they were rescues, and the lady said no, that they weren't rescues, that they just belonged to the store. And so I was like, okay, well, the reason we asked if they were rescues was because they look like they have pretty bad metabolic bone disease. Like, I have a tortoise with metabolic bone disease that I rescued, so I know a little bit about it. I have multiple tortoises. If you want, I can give you some information. Like, it's not something that you can fix. They'll never look normal. However, you can stop it from progressing, which could end up killing them in the long run. And she wanted really nothing to do with me giving her this information. I tried to talk to her a little bit about it, and then after I started talking to her about it and saying that they had pretty bad metabolic bone disease, she changed her story and was like, yeah, they're rescues. Like, people just drop these tortoises off because people don't know the difference between turtles and tortoises and blah, blah, blah. And then she went off on this rampage about how they were rescues and that somebody just dropped them off, and she thought one of them was going to die, and then they ended up making it and whatever. So I was like, okay, so are they or are they not? Sorry, I'm sitting on my feet. So I said, are they or are they not rescues? And she just couldn't keep her story straight. Like, at one point she was like, no, they're not. And then they were, and then they weren't again. And then they were again. And so then while I was talking to her about this and trying to give her information, the owner came out, one of the people who owned the store, it's a husband and wife, I guess. The wife came out and she was like, no, that's my tortoise. You can't have my tortoise. She's not for sale. And I was like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm not trying to buy your tortoise. I'm not trying to take your tortoise. I just simply wanted you to know that it has metabolic bone disease. It's a pretty hard condition in tortoises to recoup and fix. And I'm just trying to, like, help you out. Like, some vet care might be needed at this point. It's not... And I told her, I said, I have a tortoise with really bad metabolic bone disease that I thought was really bad until I saw these tortoises. Like, I've never seen metabolic bone disease in a specifically a sulcata tortoise so bad ever. And so I just was trying to be as polite as possible, telling her, like, hey, this is how you can fix it. And she wanted nothing to do with it. So, side note, nothing happened with these tortoises. If I had all the money in the world, I would go and offer her a bunch of money just to take them, get them out of the situation, take them to the vet. However, I don't have all the money in the world to be offering this lady thousands of dollars to take these tortoises that she just doesn't want to get rid of just because she wants them to be cool pet store mascot pets. And that drives me insane too, because a lot of people who have pet store mascots, they're not taken care of properly, and they don't care to take care of them properly. The only reason they want them is to be cool, to draw in attention to the store, and the only attention they're drawing in at this point is negative attention for anybody that knows anything about tortoises. Whatever. So then here's some footage of the rest of the store. They had some really cool fish, and their fish were pretty well taken care of, so I think I got a couple more clips, so here's some of that. Just kidding. Editing me realized I literally didn't film anything except for these poor tortoises. So after that pet store, we ended up we wanted to go to the bird store that I typically go down to see when I'm down this way. It's a couple hours away, and I don't really go to this bird store very often just because it is a couple hours away, and there's a really nice store closer to me, and their stuff is actually cheaper. So when I'm down that way, I'll go down that way and support a small business, but I don't really go down that way very often. So we were gonna go down there, and turns out that bird store was closed. So then we were going to another bird store that said that they were open, and so we drove an extra like 25-30 minutes to get to this bird store. And here's some clips of the bird. Hey guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. This is my friend Shyler.
Hello.
We are on our way into a bird store. We've never been here before. We're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and it's kind of sketchy.
You shouldn't tell everyone that we're not from here.
We're not from here. There's people that we don't know, and it's kind of sketchy. Okay, but anyway, we're gonna go into this bird store.
Yeah, I thought someone should call and be like, hey, I want to come.
Boy,
your
you
store.
need a beak trim. You want me to trim up your beak?
Does this one need a beak?
These birds were in the window. The one clearly needed a really bad beak trim. It was curved all the way down to the point where it was almost touching its throat. I have no idea how it was possibly eating. None of them had any toys. There were 2 blue and gold macaws and then a military macaw. The 2 blue and golds seemed really active and wanting to play and everything, because obviously they didn't have any toys. They had no stimulation whatsoever. And then the military macaw just seemed very uninterested. I'm honestly surprised it didn't have plucking issues, because it had no interest in human interaction. It didn't have any toys. And as you could see from the clips, I'll reinsert another clip of the 1 blue and gold that really wanted, like, our interaction, was like desperate to play. Here's a couple clips of that blue and gold.
Baby.
Can you dance for me side to side? So that blue and gold macaw, you could tell that cage was completely wrapped in chicken wire. And it was cut, the chicken wire was cut around the door of the cage, so it looked like you could still get the bird out of the cage. However, the chicken wire was all chewed up because obviously this bird didn't have any toys. So the only thing keeping it happy was this chicken wire to play with. And it was so sharp on the edges that it very well could have done some damage. And so anyway, we couldn't figure out how to get into the store. So we called the store and we were like, hey, somebody answered. And we were like, hey, are you guys open? Like, we can't figure out how to get in. We're just standing outside. We're looking at the birds in the window. And the guy was like, yeah, no, we're not open. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I was just wondering, like, it says you're open and your hours were posted and it says that you're open. And he was like, yeah, I had to shut down early because I had to go get my kids from school. And I was like, okay, no big deal, but you're still open for like another 3 hours. Are you coming back? And he was like, no, I'm not coming back. It's shut down for the day. I'll be back at 10 a.m. tomorrow. And I was like, okay, well, we just drove a couple hours. Like, we're not from here. We won't be back tomorrow. Like, today was just it. We were just going to stop in and see. And he was kind of very rude on the phone. So I was like, okay, well, that was a bust. So then there was a reptile store across the street. And at this point, we had lucked out. Like, we had just had no luck on this pet store journey that we were on. So I was like, okay, well, last resort, we'll go to this reptile store across the street. Probably isn't going to be great because we didn't think any of the other ones were great. And so we went to this reptile store across the street. And it was actually a really nice reptile store. It was smaller in like square footage, but they did have a lot of really cool things. And they also had this really cool bearded dragon named Bruce. I will insert him. And Bruce had actually just been bred, so they had eggs in the incubator from Bruce and another female. They were planning on reproducing some different white morphs of bearded dragons and orange morphs of bearded dragons. And my friend Shyler, who you saw in the clip about the bird store, she really wants a white bearded dragon. So we got their contact information. They have a website and stuff, I guess. So she's going to keep an eye out for a white bearded dragon and possibly be getting a white bearded dragon. I'd love to get an orange bearded dragon. But I am currently fighting a mite issue with my current reptiles, and so I have no plans of bringing in any new reptiles until I can get this mite issue under control. But yeah, so we went there. Here's some clips of this store because the store was way better than all the other pet stores we had even tried to stop at. So here's some clips of this store. That was the end of that pet store, and that pet store was actually really cool, and we did enjoy them. Their bearded dragon shouldn't be kept on sand. I never recommend keeping a bearded dragon on sand. We'll just side note that. That'll be a whole nother video on like substrate for bearded dragon. Please never keep your bearded dragon on sand. It's so bad for them. But yeah, so that was that. And then we ended at the Cheesecake Factory, and I got a really nice piece of dulce de leche cheesecake. I have never been to the Cheesecake Factory prior to this, and we went to the Cheesecake Factory, and I got this gorgeous piece of cheesecake. And it has changed cheesecake for the better for me. I just will, well, maybe the better, maybe the worse. I don't know, because now I'm never going to be able to eat anything but expensive cheesecake for the rest of my life. So yeah, that was this video. Thank you for watching. It wasn't really what I was expecting. However, I'm glad you guys stayed to watch. I don't know. Put a little flower emoji in the comments if you stayed through this whole video, even though it was kind of just not what I was expecting. But anyway, so most of those issues with pet stores, things like metabolic bone disease, tortoises, birds, we'll get into more of that information in future videos. I will see you guys soon. I love you. Bye. Also, I don't know if anybody noticed, but these are my 6 tarantulas. They were in the background of my video. The 6 tarantulas that I kept. We'll get into a little tour of which ones I kept later. But of course, number 1, I had to keep Athena because she was my very first tarantula. So she's still in my collection. We'll get into which other ones I kept later, but just a sneak peek. So stay tuned for the next video. Maybe the next video I'll show you guys my spiders, which spiders I kept. So yeah, I'll see you guys then. Bye. Mwah.